There was a referendum was held, which wasn't very meaningful, really. It was the, oh, would you prefer a poke in the eye with a sharp stick question.
The survey had recommended that people should be rehoused within St Mary's, but that kind of redevelopment in phases was not technically possible. The council chose to build a low-rise development that needed a completely cleared site. Everything from the centre of St Mary's had to be demolished, and residents moved to estates on the outskirts of the town to allow the building programme to go ahead. The new estate was to consist mainly of system-built flats. The one thing almost everyone selected, a house on St Mary's, was the one thing no one was going to get.
No one wanted to question the council's wisdom. You were being moved, and that was it. People obviously felt a great deal of resentment about it, but through what channel do you voice that resentment? If you're not active in local politics, there were no residents' associations in those days, since the majority of the houses were owned by private landlords. And CPO was CPO. The end of that particular street was certainly.
Human kindness, it's because, and consideration for other people is at its very best in adversity. And God knows people in the St Mary's ward were living in conditions of adversity.
Well, lots of them are forgetting how the bad conditions were, you see. And they say, oh, I wish them days were back. They don't really mean it. When they stop to think about it, they wouldn't voluntarily go back to them old houses they lived in, some of them. But some of them would, because they were good houses. And they'd spent a lot of money and a lot of time on them. So if them that were living in the older type of houses, would you go back to bugs or blackjacks when you'd been free of it?
Well, I was rather shocked when we all knew that it was coming down. Even the customers, they didn't like it. And they were worried. They used to think, well, what's good of doing anything to our homes now that it's coming down? Any recorded letters that came, they'd come in and show you, oh, I had one of those, we have to go, and they were all upset.
I was more sad when they pulled the pub down, when they pulled the edging end down. That was my saddest moment.
Oh, yes, it were.
The last night, yes, it were hard. We're done. I'll never forget it.
And it were all right, see, because it was Fred's sister what kept it, and her husband, and it were being related. You know, it were a bit hard, you know, for us all to break up like that.
In 1964, Norman Swallow and a Granada television crew arrived in St Mary's.
I came from Manchester every morning and spent most weekends in Oldham, getting to know the people, finding out how they felt. So that, and I think this is absolutely fundamental to this sort of program making, is that when the cameras actually arrive, you yourself, I, myself and my colleagues, were not in any sense strangers. I was Norman to them. They were Kitty or Tony or whatever to me.
He said he was looking for some bright kids to talk about how they felt about the area.
Yeah, they had a lot of character. They were filthy and dirty. That's what interested me about them, because they were so horrible, you know.
Didn't concern me overly, certainly not as much as it does today, looking at a camera or having a camera pointed at you. So I just went along and did it. He more or less reconstructed the interior of the typical house and sat me down exactly where I'd sat when he first came to see me in my house.
And these cameras and the cables were really too big to get into the tiny rooms where these people in Oldham were living. And so what we had to do was, in fact, to use a warehouse as our own studio. When we showed people, apparently, sitting and chatting at home, they were really sitting and chatting in our improvised studio.
I said to them, now are we getting paid? Now are we getting paid for this effort? Because they were using Kitty's lights, they were on a meter, you know, because they had quite a lot of cameras, very big cameras, and they were throwing it back onto television screens behind inside this van. They said, all bills will be paid for. To Kitty, you see, well over there. So I said, What about me? I won't bother about anybody else. You'll be paid for as long as you speak.
What I'd like to do is somebody to give me a load of bricks and a load of mortar, and I'd like to build myself a flipping house and show them how it's done.
So much per minute, Nellie. Every minute you speak. So I talk for 35 minutes without stop.
I think perhaps most of us concerned on the television side of it were equally moved. We felt involved, we felt part of it.
I feel very sad about it because it looks so big bombs at it. You know, little houses in between with people still living in them. It's really sad to see them pulled down. You know, because they are Oldham, these old houses. They are the real Oldham. You know, all the dirty mills and chimneys. It's not really what it's made out to be. You know, the north, it's not all industry and clogs and shawls and cobble streets. It's growing, and I suppose houses have got to go down to grow with it. Which is a shame, really. If I had my way, I'd leave one house standing, just one little house standing. So people could say, oh, that's a good old house. You know, people have worked and lived in there.
I felt really angry when I saw the conditions under which people were living in these older industrial communities. Now, this is infuriating. You walk around the streets and the courts and you see the degrading conditions that human beings have to live in.
My part of these problems relates to flesh and blood, people's feelings. My difficulty is when we tell people that they're about to be moved, they seem to suddenly realise that they're not so badly off where they are.
I really like where I am. I mean, they're only like cottages, but you can keep them nice. And I think they shouldn't disturb people when they're getting on. I don't agree with what they're doing.
The people were getting scared. I said, take no notice. Don't bother. You'll be all right. They won't come down yet. So when we had to go, and the time came, I was very, very sorry. Very sorry and very sad.
St Mary's Ward.
Oh, yes.
Top
priority, yes.
We've got to push 500 houses up there in the next 12 months. And we haven't got the site cleared yet.
Oh, heartbreak. I spent an entire Saturday weeping. But as time went on, and the things that were happening around us, I was glad to go.
They're pulling the floorboards out and taking the tops off.
Well, actually, I felt horrible. I kept going out every 5 minutes, you know, thinking how they're doing me now, how they're doing my house now. Anyway, we had to wait quite a while. But when the boys did bring the bulldozer in, they came over to the house I was living in. They said, Nellie, she's going down now. How long is that? Stood at the top of the street and scribed.
And I know in time they'd have to come down because they're a good age. But it's missing all the pink.
Well, you all know this is our farewell evening. But there's one thing I'd like to say. That I wish you all happiness in your new homes, wherever you go. Good luck, good health, and God bless all of you.
Dirt just vacuum away. Made by Shaw's in a wide colour range, this beautiful hard-wearing new nylon carpet will transform your home and is available from all branches of Boardman's. See it, feel it. You'll be amazed at the quality, delighted by the price.
Now in Stretford, John Ainsworth Tyres and Exhausts.
When your motor needs a helping hand, there's no one does it better than John Ainsworth Tyres and Exhausts.
Last April, Parliament made it possible for the people of the United Kingdom to own shares in British Telecom. That means not just big city investors, but each one of us. Since then, millions of letters, fact sheets and brochures have been sent to those seeking information. Now, the offer has been announced. A prospectus will be published on the 20th of November. It will be available to everyone in newspapers and at banks and post offices throughout the country. It will carry an application form with a simple guide to its completion. If you have decided to share in British Telecom's future, the last date for receipt of applications is the 28th of November at 10 in the morning.
Broadbents and Boothroyds welcome you to the centre of Southport shopping, where you'll find fashion, ideas for the home, and that special occasion. Excellent choice with superb quality, elegant surroundings, and real personal service. Shop in style at Broadbents and Boothroyds. Great names, great value.
Nice, isn't it? My brother knitted it.
Ask for a free demonstration of a Brother knitting machine at UKnit, Rochdale, now.
Brand new cars from only £2,395 or up to £1,400 minimum part exchange discount off your old car on luxury models. Madison's, Freckleton near Preston.
For the very first time, the Ultravox collection. 14 classic hits. The collection from Ultravox. Only £4.79 from Records and Tapes at Woolworth.
This Tuesday here on 4, The Children of An Lac depicts the true story of the attempts made by 3 Americans to evacuate a group of orphans from war-torn Vietnam.
I don't know. I'm afraid we're going to have to leave those children behind until I can make other arrangements.
No. All the children are going, or none.
We have mother, father. No, we're not mother, father here. I'm scared.
Someday, when you grow up, you will understand. You have to leave to survive.
The true story of the evacuation of the children of An Lac is this Tuesday at 9 o'clock, here on 4. Now on 4, the people of St. Mary's Oldham continue the story of their lives in a place some call Anytown.
What are we trying to do for these people? You can give them nice sanitary conditions with washing facilities and bathrooms, but you need give them no better conditions than perhaps a battery hen. There is a far greater process of social improvement. And to get social improvement, there is no doubt that you've got to improve the physical conditions first and foremost.
I think it'll be a grand place, yes. I think it'll be another garden city, my idea.
Well, they can't be the same again. But I don't agree with what they're doing. No.
One doesn't want to be callous about this. What the little old lady who's lived in the house for 60 years and refuses to move who calls up the newspaper to kick up a heck of a row, well, she's had her day more or less. It's the up and coming and the young people we have to think about. They're the people we have to build for.
Everybody has a lot of fun, oh baby. Yes, baby. Well, baby, you're having me some fun tonight. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun tonight.
The 100-year-old community of St Mary's in Oldham, Lancashire was demolished in 1964. The last dramatic months captured by Granada Television were not the end of the story. Young people welcomed the change. Older residents were nervous about the future. Ivy Scott felt angry.
It didn't give people time to realise actually just what was going to happen. And it was so quick. We were arranging meetings, we were flying around, we had one in St Mary's Parish Hall. What to do, there was no organisation. It would have thought, and everybody got together, I'm sure the outcome would have been a lot different. But it seemed to be so quick. And it was all rumour, and then suddenly it wasn't rumour, it was reality. That was it. They was going to come down, and there was no ifs or buts. So my husband said, well, I'm not taking this lying down, I'm going to do something.
It was already too late. The huge programme was underway. From the first inspection of the area through to redevelopment, the process took close to 8 years. Everyone from the 1,000 homes in the central area of St Mary's was moved out in 1964 to make way for building work.
Everybody was splitting, and they was putting the furniture out for the knitting men to take away. I had more three-piece suites than that. If it were better than the one I had, mine went to the rubbish, and I had the fresh one.
Well, it was just like breaking the whole community up. See, I mean, what happened, they started pulling them down, they started moving, and they moved all your old neighbours, they spread them out all around the town. All on the outskirts of the town. And I got to know where a lot of them went because I used to go and fix the cookers and what have you. And it was a big change for all of us, you know.
Before demolition, the council moved in to arrange resettlement of the residents. Oldham is not a big town, but the move to an estate on the outskirts was intimidating. There were extra burdens, higher rents, new furniture, and bus fares into town.
And the address is 52
Whiteley Street.
Is it your own house, or are you under a landlord?
Oh, we're under a landlord, we rent it.
And what rent do you pay?
15 and 11.
They decided that they'd send a lady to see us, which they did. And she asked us if we'd go on Barishaw. Well, there's no way can I tell you what I said to her when she asked me to go on Barishaw estate. And then she went all the rounds, Abbey Hills and all the other estates, and I said no, I wasn't going on them. If I was going on anywhere, I would go on the new one because I wanted a new house, a new flat. I didn't want to leave it at all, but it had to go, so that was the next step. We had to come in here whether we wanted to or not. There was nowhere would I go on any of the other estates because some of them was really, you know, run down. And why should I leave a nice little house to go in a run-down flat or a house? But we had no choice. None of us had any choice.
90% of St Mary's people accepted the council's offer. Once again, the Ministry of Housing survey team followed. People felt that they gained things from the move, larger houses and bathrooms. But complaints centred on the loss of favourite things, corner shops and friendly neighbours.
I mean, my mum had a friend who lived next door but one, and they moved off St Mary's before we did. And I got on well with the two kids. And they went to Fitton Hill. And even though I had a brother on the same street, you know, I mean, it was an effort to get to Fitton Hill. So we didn't bother going after a while. And then, of course, we moved. And we lost touch with most of them then.